All right. Hello, everybody from Cohort A and my remote students working today. So, this lesson is going to be focused on email etiquette, and it's going to be something that applies to both my English classes and journalism students, whether you're in level one or level two. I'm super excited this year that they activated your Google accounts, your Gmail accounts rather, which sounds like no big deal, only it's really been something that I've been advocating for students to have as a resource for quite some time. So thankfully, it's up and running, and I wanted to do a lesson that involves how to properly write and to email folks using that particular account. What does etiquette mean? Obviously, I'm having a discussion with myself right now for this video lesson, but I want you to give it some thought for a moment. You may have heard the term etiquette in terms of how to behave at like a fancy restaurant, or you're not quite sure what to do and you ask, well, what's the etiquette? Etiquette certainly has to do with behaviors, and it has to do with manners and roles and responsibilities. Professional etiquette is something that you would use in the context of a school that you attend, whether it be high school in this situation or at a college level. Etiquette also has to do with business etiquette, how you might address an employer or email someone who's looking, he might be applying for a job. And etiquette does apply at fancy dinners too. So you certainly that you would see that it applies in that context as well. I want you to give a moment's thought for different ways you might use email for school versus personal use. Personal use, I use email for a variety of things, to catch up with some friends. If we are, too busy maybe for texting or can't keep up with it. Sometimes we're using it for just personal things we're involved in correspondence. So like if I'm involved in this particular local group, I might use that email as a collaboration tool among other people I'm working on a project with. For example, if I volunteer in town with the Hampton Education Foundation, I'm going to be using email to reach out to the other committee members that we are working on public relations for our next fundraising event. For school, you want to give thought to the different ways you'll use it. In fact, my middle school daughter was emailing her teacher without me even knowing this afternoon, asking questions about coursework, materials, a quick update on grades, or, hey, Miss Gerst, I turned that assignment in. Did you get it? Because I didn't see it updated in the grade book. My response might be, yes, I just didn't get to update yet. But those are different things that you might use it when it comes to school. In the journalism classroom, if that's the class you're taking with me, you're going to use email a lot to reach out to folks to arrange interviews, and maybe even though it's less desirable than in person, in a pandemic, we can kind of bend the rules a little bit. You could even email people that have agreed to talk to you for part of a story you're reporting, or maybe you're doing an individual profile on somebody or a profile on a new teacher. And if they've agreed to do it by email, that might be another usage that you're going to use your school email account for. Just a quick note, I wanted to be mindful of the fact that with opening up emails to the entire student body might come an inappropriate email, and that you receive, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen, but in the event it does, I thought it would be wise to just kind of give you some coaching on how to manage that with a list of do's and don'ts in the event that occurs for you this year. One thing that helps is the fact that your that your emails are addressed by ID number and they are not addressed by name. So it's hard for somebody to seek that out unless they have that information. Let me close this. I'm not sure this is blocking your viewing. Oh, wrong way. All right, so let's brainstorm for a minute. I want you to think about what types of elements you think should be included in an appropriate professional email, and maybe what things you shouldn't include. I can leave an awkward silence for brainstorming, but you could also just pause this to give it some thought and to be actively engaged with the content. To kind of kick off this discussion, I have an example of an email that was posted on a website of funny student emails to professors. Okay, so this is an example of what not to do. You can see the subject is missed class, and it says, "Yo, Doe, I missed class yesterday. What we do? Chris." And before you're like, "Oh, somebody made that up," I wouldn't be so sure. In the spring, since we entered the world of communicating virtually almost, without any warning, I would get a couple emails that had that tone, or even a couple remind texts where maybe the students were sending me messages as if I was one of their buds. Where I really is a good habit to be into when you're talking to someone who's a teacher or a possible employer or a professor, that communication, whether it be in the email or remind, is polished. I mean, don't get me wrong. I get a kick out of when kids are just at ease, but nonetheless, it's good to be in the practice of that etiquette and being mindful of appropriate behaviors and manners when you're interacting in that fashion. So this was the response from the professor to that email. Oh, I'm gonna move my video up for a minute. And I'll give you a second to take a look at that. It cracked me up. So I won't read it to you, but it's there for your reference to check out. All right, contents of a good email. So you could do lots of fun things. I can try to make that. Sorry, I'm trying to make that Google Slides thing go away so it's not in your face. Yeah, there it goes. You want to use professional or neutral font. Sometimes we get real excited that we can make something red and in bold and in cursive. You're going to avoid that when you're doing professional correspondence. That might be something you do for fun with friends or a personal group you're connected with, or you're, a family member that you're sending an email to. But when I say neutral font, we're talking about our font style that we have options in our Gmail to use. You want to use something polished and simple and easy to read. Avoid cursives, avoid script fonts, and keep it in a color. Black is obviously the most straightforward in contrast to a white background. It's the easiest to read. Number 2, you always include a subject in your email. You never want to send it without anything. If you do, it comes up, untitled or no title. What you'll find is once you start corresponding by email with frequency, it is very easy to lose things in the mix and things pile up. And people often use a keyword search to look for a particular message. If I remember what it was about, but I can't find it, I can think, oh, well, let me put that keyword in an email search. That'll help bring it up. Your subject is going to help with that. You're going to, for number 3, include an appropriate greeting. Dear Mrs. Garrister, hello, Gabriella, something along those lines. Number 4, you want to clearly write the contents of your email. You want to be straightforward, brief, and you want to check for grammar and spelling. Number 5, you want to include a closing. And number 6, you want to include an appropriate signature that includes your first and last name, a full last name too. So I wouldn't put, Joe T. If that was my name, I would put Joe Thompson. That was my full name. And I guess I'll know you watched this video for that little fun fact. Coach Thompson at the middle school, the wrestling and cross country and track coach, is my brother. So students are always kind of amused by learning that. We're pretty different, but we're related, and we grew up together. So it's always fun. People get a kick out of that. Okay, one thing to remember when you're writing your email is cups, and that's capitalization, usage, punctuation, and spelling. You want to check that stuff. You want to look polished. You want to look like someone who took care. I think it's easy for people to make a quick judgment about someone if they have spelling, grammar, capitalization errors in email, even though it's not a formal essay, it's not a formal paper. I totally understand all that. But it is human nature to make a quick assessment of whether or not you think that person, I don't know, is as polished and professional as you want them to be. If you're bored, you could play this Cups song. Do you know this song? I don't know if you know. That can help you remember it. I'll let it play for just a minute. Just trying to lighten up a perhaps boring topic. All right. So your turn. What you're going to do is you're going to check out the email assignment details that are posted to the Google Classroom. It's going to be under the week 1 unit topic, and then underneath it'll say Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. The task varies depending if you're enrolled in my CP English 3 class or my CP Journalism 1 or 2 class. There'll be a different question that's asked of you. I'm going to flip tabs real quick. Hopefully this works. It doesn't. All right, I'm back here. I was hoping to flip-flop between tabs and have you still see me, but it's not working that way. I might make a separate quick video to outline that and then merge these two together for you. But you're going to see that I will ask you to actually talk about something in the body of your email, and that something will be different depending on if you're in my English class or you're in my CP journalism classes. And some of you have me twice in a day for both courses, so the emails will be slightly different. I do want you to send them twice, though. All right, so that's going to wrap up this explanation video and mini lesson on email etiquette. And I want you to reach out to me, I guess, with any questions. You could do that via Remind or via email. Imagine that. And I'll be excited to see you guys all back on the next day you're in person, or if you're all remote, next week. Okay,